Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. We welcome you to our online teaching academy, Ekaleva. In this video, we are going to learn a poem, Mother to Son, written by Langston Hughes, in your literature reader, class 8. First, let us know about the poet children. Langston Hughes was an American poet, social activist, novelist, and a playwright. He identified himself proudly as a black at a time when blacks were not respected in America. He stressed the theme, Black is Beautiful. His main concern was the betterment of the people of African origin, whose courage and humor he sensitively records in his writing. Before getting into the poem, children, we need to know the background that prompted the poet to write this piece of poetry. This poem was written in the early 20th century when the African American faced some serious oppression and racism. Mother to Son is about the hardship of the mother's existence as a black woman. She uses an extended metaphor of a rough staircase to emphasize how hard she has had to fight in order to be successful. The problems and tasks that she confronted in the progression of her life is compared to the difficulty in climbing the rough staircase, which has tags, splinters, and sometimes there were no boards. But she continued to move ahead. Despite all the challenges that came her way, she never turned away and chose not to give up. The mother advises her son that life will not always be a smooth ride. In spite of all the hazards and miseries, one must learn to persist and move forward. She encourages her son to face life's challenges head on and tries to inculcate strength and courage in him. Now, we will move on to line by line explanation of this poem, children. Well, son, I'll tell you, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. Langston Hughes begins the speaker addressing her son. It sets up the conversation between mother and son as informal but also important. The mother wants her son to pay close attention to what she is about to tell him. In the second line, she compares her life to a staircase which wasn't a crystal stair. The crystal stair symbolizes an easy, affluent, and sparkling life that is out of reach for most black people, while the rough staircase the mother speaks of symbolizes a difficult life. Here, the mother contradicts the biblical reference of Jacob's ladder that connects the heaven and the earth. It's had tags in it and splinters. Tags meaning a small nail with a sharp point and a flat head, used especially for fixing a carpet to the floor. You could see in this picture. Splinters means a small, thin, sharp piece of wood, metal, or glass that has broken off from a large piece. These two lines describes her metaphorical staircase of life had always been full of sharp, pointed hurdles. Those hurdles hurt her exactly like being hurt by sharp, thin pieces of broken wood or glass. And boards torn up and places with no carpet on the floor bare. Boards torn up or the missing or broken steps symbolizes the great lengths the mother had to go through in order to get to where she is today. Places with no carpet on the floor means she never received any help from anyone. There was no carpet laid down in her stressful and testing life. Bare. This single word makes a line in the poem that emphasizes how she was open to all kind of problems and issues that made her journey of life a tough one. But all the time I've been a climbing on and reaching landings. But all the time. The black mother keeps climbing with confidence and resilience despite all such horrible situations. Has been a climbing on. I is. See, actually, it's a colloquial expression which means I have or I am. I am been climbing on. She never lost hope and has been fighting on and facing new challenges and reaching landings. Landings meaning an area at the top of a set of stairs where you arrive before you move on to another set of stairs. You could see in this picture. And turning corners. These two lines explains that she has been achieving her goals gradually due to her hard work and determination. The life has been easier by adjusting according to the situations and sometimes going in the dark. From this line, we can understand that for the speaker, many a times the circumstances were both challenging and unpredictable. The speaker was not afraid of what might be on the other side, even when she was entering into dark. This is another character trait she is hoping to pass on to her son. Even though she knows how bad things can be, she has been unafraid or at least strong enough to face them. Where there ain't been no light. This line tells us that there were situations where she had no hope of coming out of the dark tunnel, yet she never gave up. So, boy, don't you turn back. Don't you sit down on the steps cause you finds it's kinda hard. Kinder meaning in some way. It's an informal way. It's a colloquial way of telling. Here, she uses the word boy to call his attention and make sure he is still listening to her. The mother tells her son that no matter what he might be going through now or in the future, he shouldn't turn back. She also tells him not to sit down on the steps. Any hesitation or fear will only make the situation worse. He needs to perceive and resilient to move on these difficult parts. Don't you fall now, for I still going, honey. I still climbing, and for life for me ain't been no crystal stair. Again, she uses the colloquial expressions I is. This tells us that the mother is not that much educated. The mother tells her son that despite all the difficulties he faces in life, he should not feel disappointed or lose hope. Falling off the staircase may also indicate being misled. The mother advises her son not to be misled and choose the wrong path during difficulties. The mother sets her own example by saying that she is still walking on that path and climbing that metaphorical staircase of life. She has not given up and continues to strive for a better life and free of all the sufferings and miseries with an optimistic heart. I hope you would have understood the poetry, children. Now let us move on to the poetic devices used in this poetry. Metaphor. Metaphor is a comparison between two unlike objects without using as or like. Okay, in this poetry, we see an extended metaphor. What is an extended metaphor? An extended metaphor which runs, the comparison runs throughout several lines or the whole poem. Here, the poet uses the metaphor of a staircase to depict the difficulties and dangers that the black mother faced in her life. This poem, Mother to Son, is a free verse. Free verse is a type of poetry that does not contain any specific patterns of rhythm or meter. Another poetic device which is used in this poetry is refrain. Refrain is used in the second line and in the last line. Life for me ain't been no crystal stair. That is repeated twice in this poetry. Another poetic device used in this mother to son is allusion. What is an allusion? Allusion is an indirect reference to a person, place, thing, or idea of a historical, cultural, political, or literary significance. He has used this device in the opening lines of the poetry. Life for me ain't been no crystal stair. Crystal stair refers to Jacob's stair from the Old Testament in the Bible. Do subscribe our YouTube channel for further updates, children. Thank you.